Hello everyone, so welcome back to another video. So this is covering Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise, episode 22, and oh boy, this is a doozy. Where to start? So let's just get this out of the way, because I've just come off watching this for like the third or fourth time to collect ideas and notes and really kind of rewatch it, because I was kind of conflicted on the following statement that I'm gonna make. But I'm now fully cemented with this after watching it, especially with the audio on as loud as possible on a set of headphones. I don't know what it is, but if you can in any sort of way pump the volume up and just enjoy all of the sounds and explosions and the music at the same time, if you can find a way to do that and enjoy the story, please do, because it's so much more satisfying. Because yeah, this is the best episode of Re-Rise yet, and the payoff for all the waiting is fantastic. The thing is, I was using episode 13 of Normal Build Divers as a benchmark for those people that have watched the channel since we covered Build Divers normally. You'll know that I put episode 13 on a pedestal a lot just because of how damn good the animation is. And I was conflicted with this episode mainly because of the build-up, but after rewatching it, you've got to appreciate that build-up. So I didn't do a review for the previous episode because it was a lot of downtime, a little bit of planning, and there wasn't too much going on, but that was deliberately done. Episodes are done like that to get you ready for big confrontations and normally to allow for an entire episode of action. And I was kind of expecting that, so I didn't cover anything. The only interesting part was at the end of the previous episode, episode 21, we had Hiroto more or less out himself in terms of what his whole role is and everything to Hinata before going off to the Gundam base to log in. And it was more or less just, look, we know we can save Misaki. I'm going to be a hero. But there's a possibility that something might go wrong, so she's kind of like, please don't, just come back. Don't mess it up, just come back, promise me. And he's like, oh, okay. So the build-up and the tension was already there from that. And going into this one episode really encompasses a story of everybody regretting their choices previously and then having to come to terms with them and get over them. And especially for Hiroto, oh my god, the feels, man. So where to start? So we've got the beginning, the cold opening with the Celtam, where the Celtam is facing off against all of Alice's forces because Alice is trying to get him under control again. He's losing control ever since the Celtam got damaged. In between that, we have the build divers, apart from Pa, getting ready to go and square off against the Celtam. We have Alus preparing his 3 special suits to try and deal with everybody. And we have Pa and Quaudon getting ready on their end, trying to fix up Quaudon's wing with parts that he had from a leftover build that he didn't quite finish. And the beginning fight is amazing, just watching all this take place. And then we cut to the hospital with Hinata and Misaki's sister, I think it is. And the tension is set. You just know stuff's going wrong because his life support seems to be failing or dropping slowly. He seems to be either going worse or he's on the verge of death. So the stakes for this episode are super high, but what we start seeing is a lot of destruction. We get a lot of grunt suits getting destroyed by everybody. The Celtam massacres a load of them. The build divers are fighting everyone at once, which is nuts. And let's just shout this out now, because a lot of people called me out about this early on, saying, oh, Kazami, if he has a redemption story, it's going to be totally stupid. No, this is one of the best stories out of everybody in there, purely because of the way it was done. This guy went from absolutely nothing in like the first couple of episodes to being an absolute badass tank in this one episode. Like, that change in suit, just wanting to become like the ultimate shield essentially, is fantastic, because we'll get into this later on why Kazami changed like that so drastically, but his suit really does reflect it, and it is great to see Kazami getting his kill count up. He kills the most amount of units we ever see him kill in the entire show here, and considering he's using a melee based unit with only minor weapons until like the fight really kicks up a notch, that is amazing. We've got Hiroto with I think it's the Venus armor, the V2 armor, holding his own. We've got Mei in the Wodon pod, and those three are going crazy on all these grunts and the Cell-Sam trying to wound it, but nothing's really sticking. Meanwhile, Misaki's having trouble controlling himself in the Cell-Sam. He's trying to sort of break free of the control, but it's not working. Alice comes in and starts fighting everybody, and this is where we get to see the two new suits that he's got. He's rebuilt the Earth 3 again, and he's got the fake new and the fake throne Gundam as well, which looked really good and kind of fit his personality. Apart from the Earth 3 that he has, the other two used funnels or funnel type weapons with the fangs, so that's an interesting choice for him, just because, you know, you'd expect him to go with other things that were very similar to his build that he's using already, but, you know, okay, fangs it is then, I guess. But yeah, we get to the halfway point and everybody is having a bit of trouble. Hirato's taking some damage, and we get a first glimpse at the quick change, which I honestly thought we'd have had more of now, where he purges one of the arms that's been damaged by the Cell-Sam and puts on the Saturn armor to equip the drill weapon that he has for specifically dealing with Gundam frames, because the Cell-Sam's weird long arm looks a lot like it's from IBO, so it makes sense that it's made out of the same materials as like Gundam frames, and thus the drill can go through it eventually, or at least that's the plan. So we then have Alice stick his nose in even more, trying to pin down everybody and trying to really interrupt the fights that are going on, which results in Mei trying to talk him out of everything and try and shake him up. And with Mei, I feel like she's talking to him and trying to stop him from doing this stuff, because she sees him as like a rampant AI, and it's almost as if she's seen what she could have been if she hadn't have been proper sentient, if she hadn't have if she wasn't thinking for herself properly. I just feel like if L-Divers could go rampant, then the reflection would be Alice just going absolutely crazy or misunderstanding what he's meant to be doing and instead just destroying everything. And I feel like Mei is seeing that as a reflection of herself. Maybe she's seeing it also as partly kind of what Hiroto was going on about in terms of GBN getting messed up by something. Maybe she's seeing him messing up this world and she's like, oh god, this is kind of the same, you know. But then we have Pa and Quaodon come in, and the fight really kicks up. We have the Cell-Sam face off against Quaodon, while we have everybody else face off against Alice and the Grunts. And Quaodon versus the Cell-Sam is good, because we see Misaki kind of communicate through one of Quaodon's attacks, and he's got his own regrets. He's bathed in too much blood when he's under this mind control. He regrets damaging his wing and he regrets killing everybody. So he just wants it to end, and his way out is just saying, look, kill me. To which Groudon's like, okay, I regret not taking action previously. So, or rather the right action. So instead, I'm not going to pause this time, and starts just blasting him like crazy. Again, let's just, this episode, man, the beam effects, in fact, all of the effects in this one episode are the best they've ever been in the show so far, and they are absolutely beautiful to behold. But the best part for me is when everything looks a bit bleak, and we've gone over everybody's past again, and we've, especially Par's struggling with the responsibility of potentially either, sounds like he's either becoming the leader of a company or the leader of a country based on what he's saying, and because he's related to Shariar, it might be that they actually do run a country and he's going to take that responsibility afterwards, but he's not stepped up, he's never had leadership skills, so he's been slowly settling into GBN and trying to get used to being part of a group and making the right decisions and stuff. That was cool as a build-up for Par, because Par, a lot of people said he was rushed, and I feel like he was, but now they're trying to fill in those gaps, and I feel like, yeah, it could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but what they did was definitely satisfying enough in the way that they said it, to which, when the enemy thrown Gundam goes Transam, the Valkylander has its own version, and they manage to keep up with each other until Palm misses one of his swings and goes flying into the floor. But again, we have this thing where Groudon's ready to finish off Misaki, and just as he does fire gets ready to fire a beam, Hiroto moves in front of him, and this is where we see the whole thing is about regret for this episode, because when you think about it, you have Mei regretting not being able to save anyone so far, or wanting to save the planet, and regretting not acting in the space satellite when they could have the satellite moon base. That's what she's regretting the most. We have Kazami, who's regretting being responsible for the satellite attack, so he's become a shield as a result of it. We have Par that regrets not being like everybody else and not being the one to take action or learn really early on and really pick himself up and learn how to fly and learn how to get on with stuff, because of his accident. He has instead been using everybody else as a crutch, so he regrets that. We have Misaki that regrets all of his actions so far, killing everybody, and we have Groudon that regrets his inability to deal with Misaki first. But out of all of them, we have Hiroto, who, when this blast is just about to hit him, he's talking to Groudon and he's like, look, you don't want to take this shot, we'll deal with him. And he's like, no, I need to do this, otherwise, it's going to be painful. And Hiroto's like, do me a favor, don't take the shot, because the only one that's going to regret it and is going to be in pain is you, and it's not going to be good, because trust me, I didn't act, and I regret it, and you'll be just like me. And oh god, that hit home so much, primarily because of the way they built it up, but like, everybody has something at some point that they really, really regret, no matter what it is, and it might really eat away at you. But with Hiroto, you can tell, because he's been dealing with grief and he's just isolated himself. He regrets his inability to save Eve, and as a result, he's changed his entire personality, and he's been living more or less inside of GBN as this outsider, this loner that just kind of gets on and doesn't really do anything for the fun of it anymore, and just doesn't really care. And the care was there when he was with Eve. He was inspired, he was having fun, and to turn around and be like, yeah, don't be that guy. Just don't be that guy that regrets not doing anything. You know, being the one that didn't save somebody. Do us a favor and don't take the shot. Save him or let us save him. And just as you think, okay, he's got through to him, Crowdon shoots this beam, and it looks, in the way that it's animated, like it's going to hit Hiroto straight in the face, but no, it goes straight over his shoulder and hits all of Alice's units behind him. And this is the awesome bit, because Crowdon flies past Hiroto at high speed and is like, I'll deal with Misaki. I mean, you deal with Misaki, I'll deal with Alice. And they just go flying off at super speed, to which the build divers are like, right, we got to deal with this. So what ends up happening is you have the Seltsam uses its main cannon, the largest one that it's got, and fires one hell of a shot across the field. And this is the bit where we get to see the transformation for Kazami's suit, because Kazami's suit goes into what he calls King mode, where the V-fin flips up a little bit more, and it goes into this extra mode where its shield turns into this giant-ass beam saber that more or less emulates his hero, Captain Xeon. And oh my god, in that moment, it's fantastic, because the two things collide, the Seltsam beam cannon and Kazami's beam saber, and it manages to deflect the entire thing, given Kazami has been the most useless character in this entire series apart from Pa. That sudden turnaround that he had in this one fight is absolutely amazing. And of course, because May's without the Wodan pod, she takes more of a backseat, because it gets destroyed trying to deflect one of Crowdon's beams earlier on to try and save Misaki. But Hiroto takes the chance while the beam has been deflected, equips the Saturn armor fully, and the extra power that he gets from having the full set of armor on is enough to go into a 1-to-1 melee fight with the Seltsam, which is still ridiculously strong and has been fighting off everything, including Crowdon, while pretty much taking hardly any damage apart from Crowdon's attacks, to which Hiroto manages to go in a sort of like a drill lock with it. It changes its arm into a drill, and they both lock head to head. And in that moment, you can tell Hiroto is still struggling with everything and really, really is annoyed about everything that's happened to him so far. And yeah, he really wants to get over his regrets by saving Misaki, so he just thrusts the drill as hard as he can into the Seltsam, and it cuts past the Seltsam's drill and just goes straight through the arm like a knife through butter. And then there's a quick switch to the claw mode, in which it just rips the entire thing out, almost as if the claw arm was like some kind of biomechanical appendage, kind of like the something you'd find on the Devil Gundam. But after the arm's ripped off, the Seltsam just fades away as if it was never there. You know, it was corrupted beforehand by this arm and the other mask that Alice put on it. But now it just fades away, leaving Misaki in his armor, which they then remove, and he just looks normal again. And while all this has been going on, you've seen Hinata, like shots of Hinata in the hospital showing Misaki's deathbed, basically. His heartbeat has ceased. And when they remove the mask, Misaki fades away, seemingly going back to his body. And that's when the heartbeat monitor comes back on and he revives. And then after all of this, Hinata's like, they actually did it? What? And then she realizes that after all this time of Hiroto being down and being miserable, he's finally actually done something that he enjoys, and he's actually saved someone, and she starts crying with joy for him because she's just happy for him to have done something good and be enjoying it, seemingly, because he's started warming up to everybody else over the course of the series to the point where he's enjoying going back into GBN and trying to help out on Eldora. And then the episode ends with Maggie deciding, you know what, because Kazami has been uploading all these things as like individual blog posts or videos, kind of like to YouTube, but because he's a GTuber, Maggie retweets or shares the video, and it just goes absolutely viral straight away, and just everybody starts liking it, and it's fantastic episode. I absolutely love it. It's emotional. It's full of action. It's the best episode visually. The only other episode that was satisfying was, I think, 18, where we have Alus versus the Uraven. Like that. That is the only other moment. I'll cover that in another video, but yeah, this one is fantastic and easily matches, if not beats, episode 13 of Normal Build Divers, just because of the build-up, the stakes, the emotional investment, and the way that it all plays out. And I can't wait to hopefully get something on a similar level for the finale, like the final battles where we have to fight Alice. Anyway, what do you guys think? I'll see you on the next one. Bye!